Welcome to Clarkwize. We all want to live a good life, right? To be successful, to be happy. But what if the biggest thing holding us back isn't our job or our bank account, but something that's happening right inside our own heads? Let's dive into what that really means.
So let's just ask it straight up. Is your own mind holding you back? It's a tough question. According to entrepreneur Ankur Warikoo, our minds are literally hardwired to protect us. But sometimes that protection mode actually keeps us stuck in old habits and fears. Let's look at a few of these mental traps that probably sound a little too familiar. Okay, first up is the spotlight effect. You know that feeling, right? That horrible, cringy feeling where you think every tiny mistake you make is being broadcast on a giant screen for the entire world to see. But the reality? Most people are way too busy worrying about their own spotlight to ever notice yours.
Then you've got the status quo bias. This is basically your brain's obsession with the familiar, even when the familiar isn't actually good for you. It's that little voice that convinces you to stay in a job you dislike or a situation that's not helping you grow just because change feels, well, scary.
And finally, there's the pessimism bias. This is our brain's default setting to expect things to go wrong. It's that voice that always asks, yeah, but what if it fails? Long before you ever get a chance to ask, but what if it works? Look, these biases aren't your fault. They're just mental shortcuts. But just being aware of them, that's the first step to choosing a different path and a much better definition of a good life.
So, if we're going to break free from these mental traps, what are we even aiming for? I'll tell you what it's not. It's not just about chasing these temporary little moments of happiness. It's about building something much more sustainable, a state of genuine flourishing.
The ancient Greeks actually had this fantastic word for this, eudaimonia. It often gets translated as happiness, but it is so much more than that. Aristotle described it as the feeling you get from doing well and doing good. It's a life that's rich with purpose, with virtue, and with taking pleasure in the things that truly matter. It's not a temporary high, it's a deep, lasting sense of fulfillment.
And this really highlights a huge shift in mindset. A good life isn't about trying to eliminate every single problem. It's an active process. It's about cultivating the positive things, about intentionally building the good stuff that makes life really worth living.
And you know what? Modern science gives us a really clear framework for this. Dr. Martin Seligman's PERMA model breaks down flourishing into 5 core elements. It shows us that a good life is about more than just positive emotion. It's also about deep engagement in what you do, strong relationships, a sense of meaning, and that feeling of accomplishment.
So, with this better definition of a good life, how do we actually, build one? Well, we can actually distill decades of research from these huge landmark studies at Harvard to really practical advice from the NHS down to 3 core pillars.
The first pillar, and as we're about to see, probably the most important one, is to connect. We are social creatures. We're hardwired for connection. And the science on this is absolutely 100% clear.
I mean, listen to this quote. It's from Robert Waldinger, the director of a Harvard study that's been running for over 80 years. After all that time, this was one of their most profound conclusions. The quality of our relationships has a powerful, direct impact on our physical and mental health. It's no joke.
Now, the good news is, strengthening our connections doesn't require these huge, grand gestures. The NHS suggests simple, consistent actions. Schedule that dinner. Have lunch with a coworker instead of at your desk. Volunteer. And yeah, technology is great for staying in touch, but it's just not a replacement for the real thing.
Okay, building on connection, our second pillar is to act. See, well-being isn't this passive thing that just happens to you. It's something we have to create through intentional action. It's really about getting out of our heads and engaging with the world around us.
And again, the actions here are surprisingly straightforward. First, move your body. It actually causes chemical changes in your brain that boost your mood. Second, learn something new. It builds confidence, gives you a sense of purpose. And third, give to others. Research shows that acts of kindness create this incredibly powerful feeling of reward and connection.
All right, our final pillar brings the focus inward. It's to reflect. This is all about managing our inner world, paying attention to our thoughts and our feelings, and consciously shaping that internal dialogue we all have.
According to the Mayo Clinic, a huge part of reflection is learning to manage your self-talk, that endless stream of thoughts that just runs through your head all day. For a lot of us, that inner voice can be our own worst critic. But the good news is, we can actually learn to retrain it.
And this is so practical. Just look at these examples.
Instead of thinking, I've never done it before, you reframe it to, hey, this is an opportunity to learn something new. Instead of, there's no way it'll work, you try, you know what, I can try to make it work. This isn't about ignoring problems. It's about approaching them in a way more positive and productive way.
So we have our 3 pillars: connect, act, and reflect. But what's the science here? What's the mechanism that makes them so powerful? Let's take a look at why these simple steps can lead to such profound, lasting changes.
This diagram from psychologist Sonia Lubomirsky explains it perfectly. It's her positive activity model, and it shows that when we choose to do something positive, like an act of kindness, it triggers positive emotions and thoughts. And as you can see, this in turn boosts our overall well-being, which then makes it even easier to do more positive things. It's an incredible chain reaction.
So the key takeaway is this: it's an upward spiral. One small positive action makes you feel good, which then makes you more likely to take another positive action. You're creating this powerful feedback loop that builds momentum and genuinely increases your well-being over time.
Now, I know this can all seem like a lot, but the real beauty of all this research is that it all comes down to one thing: your first step. This isn't about redesigning your entire life overnight. It's just about choosing one small, intentional action.
So, where should you start? Well, the clearest advice comes from one of the most comprehensive studies on human life ever conducted. For over 80 years, that's the number you see here, the Harvard study of adult development has tracked people's lives to find out what truly matters.
And their #1 finding after all that time is just astonishing. The single greatest predictor of a flourishing life wasn't fame, it wasn't wealth, it wasn't cholesterol levels, it was the quality of our relationships. It brings us right back to that very first pillar, connect.
So, as we close out this explainer, the final question is really for you. Knowing that connection is the cornerstone of a well-lived life, what is one small step you can take today to nurture a relationship that matters to you?